the great comedy, humane, but above all, the loving of what you do and the following through, because it's the genius of the follow-through that makes things happen. And also a whole bunch of co-creators, friends, allies who travel with you. Yes? Very important. And finding out how to engage these teaching, learning communities in collective whole system transition is key to it all. Although there too, it can degenerate into static rituals and tedious credos, not to speak of the tyranny of collective assent. It may therefore be necessary to co-create with others a smaller, more adventurous faith community of a few friends who support each other in the commitment to the process. And in terms of the mystery of social artistry leadership, this is what happens. The creation of an adventurous faith community, not a bunch of Baptists or Catholics or Jews, but a teaching, learning community. And of course, you must encourage people to sing, to dance, to write, to exercise, and celebrate the new faith paradigm and all that it is giving you in creative expression. It is a requisite species change that has been latent within humankind as a whole, but needed the requisite complexity and crisis to allow for its emergence. And then it opens up, as we open up here, into a community of growth and sharing. However we continue to grow, and we'll figure it out, not just regular meetings that we'll have on the internet or on the phone, but ongoing teaching, learning communities, so that we can serve together, friends, as a creative haven for radical growth, where soul and mind and being are tended carefully. It also serves, finally, as a time-release capsule. And the time has come. We must not put it off any longer. What you will experience this week, my friends, is not just, oh, I had a delightful time. What did you do? Well, I don't know. I have some notes. I'll send them to you. No, the challenge of the time demands us, and we can't wait for someone else to do it. And that's why together we seek to provide the stimulus that will quicken this higher woman or man within, that will allow for the emergence of this richer, more complex being who has been residing in you throughout your life. This leads to you becoming not just a social artist, but a social alchemist. When I was 15, it's just 16th year, I was president of my high school in New York City, Julia Richmond High School, 4,000 girls or something like that. And Mrs. Roosevelt, who had just retired from the United Nations, was having regular meetings with those of us who were the presidents of our general organizations, both in high school and college. And I got to go to about 6 or 7 of these. They were actually fairly small. And she spoke to us about how it was very important to be involved, first involved, and then involved, because she had just retired from the United Nations, in the United Nations. And that the great matter of our time was making human rights matter. And she spoke to us individually with words that were wands. I mean, pungent language that sparked our spirits and called forth a new sense of purpose for our whole lives. And she said, we have to face the fact that either all of us are going to die together or we're going to learn to live together. And if we're going to live together, we have to talk. She also said it was the most important time in human history. Now, this is circa 1953, 54. And she said, what you don't do, what you do not do, can be a destructive force. And she asked us to consider the possibility of having a career working in some way internationally or with the United Nations. And she warned us that it would be hard, thankless, often thankless work. And sometimes we would wonder if it was ever worth the effort. But when we whined and said we didn't like the idea of being unappreciated, she said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." But then she would add, "When will our consciences grow so tender that we will act to prevent human misery rather than avenge it?" And she turned to me once and she said, "My dear," we were about the same height, by the way, "I rather suspect you're going to have a most interesting career. But remember, my dear, that as a professional woman, you can expect to be trashed." Now, she didn't use the word trash, but it was something equally pungent. I don't remember what it was. But then she said, "But remember, too, my dear, that a woman is just like a tea bag. You put her in hot water, and she just gets stronger." Turned out to be true, I'm sorry to say. Well, this is true of everybody now, isn't it? During a time of the turning of the times, we're all in hot water, regardless of what place we are in, because the time is shifting so radically, isn't it?
Regarding yourself as sacred and nurtured accordingly. In this way, you're able to nurture the creative seeds in others. You become both midwife of souls and nurturer. But also you allow yourself to be in situations where you are similarly midwifed and nurtured. You don't go on and say, "Okay, I'm here. All right, how can I help you here? I can help you there. Next. And before you know it, you're rent apart and you don't exist anymore. Or you exist as a feeble version of yourself." How many of you, well, you've all done this one, so I don't have to tell you about it. You know yourself as one who, because of the great connectivity you have with your mind and mind itself, with self and capital S, self. You know yourself as one who gives birth to the great ideas, ventures, and possibilities in others. In others. Now this implies, dear friends, a dynamic balance between self-forgetfulness and self-remembrance. For if you do not consistently remember yourself, you get stale and you get given out. How often in the last 1, 2, 5, 10 years have you given out or gotten sick because you really gave yourself out? And yet the local self often has to get out of the way so that you can be the through which in which the blessings can flow. Otherwise, for very strange and exotic and rather demonic reasons, you let yourself get in the way. And so the blessings do not and cannot flow.
Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have had all these spiritual, metaphysical, depth, creativity approaches and trainings, but something else has changed. Something else has turned. And it's made the availability of these factors much more relevant. We know that we are not alone, first of all, as we face the massive transitions that are upon us. Rather, when we realize that we are embedded in a larger ecology of being, its motive force arising simultaneously from the planet that is our birthplace, and, if you will, the wider universe that is our destination. Pulsed by the earth and the universe toward a new stage of growth, we are waking up to the realization that we can become partners in creation, stewards of the earth's well-being, and conscious participants in the cosmic epic of evolution.